I am again thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Tonight, the death toll climbs in the massive earthquake in Southeast Asia. Crews working around the clock trying to save anyone trapped under the rubble. Here at home, a plane crashes into a Minneapolis suburb, the late-breaking details. And more than 75 million Americans are on alert for a major cross-country storm sweeping east. First rescue teams are heading to Southeast Asia to help in those desperate efforts. A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake sending tall buildings crashing to the ground. A skyscraper under construction in Thailand, more than 80 workers believed trapped inside. Anguished family members waiting for word at the scene. Civil war-torn Myanmar, the site of the epicenter, the country's military rulers with a rare appeal for help, saying more than 1,600 people have died, and that is certain to rise. Our Britt Clennett from Bangkok. A home engulfed in flames. A small plane crashes into a residential neighborhood outside Minneapolis. What we're learning. The global day of peaceful protest against Elon Musk and Tesla. Demonstrators voicing their anger against the world's richest man. The dangerous new cross-country storm. More than 75 million Americans on alert as crews race to get the upper hand on wildfires in the Carolinas. Faith Abube from South Carolina. And our weather team timing out the forecast. The sudden resignation of the FDA's lead vaccine official, his scathing rebuke of HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., and the national response to the measles outbreak. The new response from Denmark tonight. Greenlanders react to Vice President Vance's brief visit and President Trump's calls to annex the island. Terry Moran from Greenland. An American woman held since last month is released by the Taliban. The details just coming in. The new close call at Washington's Reagan National Airport, a Delta passenger plane and a military jet coming within hundreds of feet of each other. And America Strong, the quick-thinking hero teenager who jumped into action to save a family.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this on this Saturday night, 1 week down, 1 month to go. With the Liberals surging in the polls, the other parties face pressure to pivot their campaigns.
Not such a great week for the Conservatives and a pretty bad week for the NDP.
From tax write-offs to capping food prices, we'll tell you what the candidates are promising today. Myanmar in mourning, more than 1,600 killed, and a frantic search for survivors after Friday's ferocious earthquake. A fertility finder, a new tool for Canadians struggling to conceive. Plus, pulling some strings. How the trade war is changing the way these guitars are built.
The more Canada we can put into the guitars at this point, the better it is.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple. Good evening and thank you for joining us. This country's political candidates are capping off a roller coaster first week on the federal election campaign. With 1 month to go, opinion polls show Mark Carney's Liberals gaining momentum. Some pollsters suggesting the Liberals could even form a majority government if a vote were held today. Their Conservative and NDP rivals are now facing pressure to refocus their campaigns on the trade war. Many of the usual top issues are being overshadowed by those economic threats from the White House. More U.S. tariffs are set to kick in next week, despite a softening in tone from the U.S. president following his call with Carney yesterday. Taria Isri begins our coverage tonight.
I want to give you the state of the Palisades.
Yes, give it to me.
So obviously it's really tough to see because there are so many burned down homes where it's literally just mangled steel and maybe a little bit of a stucco wall and a chimney. And that's all. And that's like lot after lot. And then every once in a while, there will be 10 burned down homes in both directions with one home standing. And so, and I was looking at all of these going, what is that? Is that providence? Is it God? Are these good people who were able to thwart the space lasers? Or was this just made of like newer fire retardant materials? And I think that was pretty much the case. That's so the newer kind of stucco homes that were probably built with something that somewhat fireproof them. Those are the ones that were still left standing. However, there were hundreds of trucks in the Palisades. So that means that there is, if it's not construction, it is debris removal.
Yeah, it's demolition.
So there's a lot of demolition, a lot of junk removal. There are still utilities out there, so there was a lot of activity. Still a lot of police presence, so you can't get into the neighborhood unless you have a pass.
Wow.
But what I saw, which really made me happy, was there's this little kind of triangle right in the middle of the Palisades, right on Sunset Boulevard, where Ted Knight had his own bench.
Yeah.
And it is surrounded on all sides by big, beautiful American flags.
Get out of town.
It was so awesome to see. There were so many American flags. And, I take that as a sign that people are optimistic.
Yes.
They're not giving up. They're not abandoning the place that they love. Everyone knows it is going to take time, but they are still there. And there were signs from businesses all over the Palisades, like, we are rebuilding the community. A big, huge sign on a burned out embankment that said, we love you, Pacific Palisades. So
I love that.
It was actually a little bit more heartening than I had thought. Still very difficult. And as I'm going through, like, my kids' toys that I can't take because they're too porous, it made me so sad to see them for the last time, but I was also very grateful that I was able to have that moment because most of my friends did not.
Yeah.
And that made me, like, super sad, but I still want to encourage all of them to come back and rebuild.
Yeah, 100%. You know what you just said, though, about the whole spirit of resilience thing. As I wonder, obviously they have this iconic 4th of July parade. Most people have been displaced, but do they have it as like this act of defiance this year? What do you think happens to the parade?
I don't know if they can do it this year, but I have a feeling it certainly will be up and running next year.
It's amazing how I started this by saying I don't want to be selfish and focus on my jacket, but my day drinking, my summer day drinking needs to be addressed. Has Governor Newsom said anything?
Tonight, earthquake disaster. The death toll in Southeast Asia soaring. In Myanmar, desperate rescue efforts and sinking hopes in a race against time. Aid agencies mobilized to help. Also tonight, weather threat. A monster storm heads east this weekend, spinning off tornadoes, hail, and snow. A small plane crashes into a home near Minneapolis, engulfing it in flames. Close call.
All right, with your actual about 500 feet below us.
I'm Allie Bauman in Washington, D.C., where the FAA is investigating a close call between a Delta flight and Air Force jet 2 months after a deadly mid-air crash here. Tariff deadline. What auto buyers need to know.
I'm Lana Zach in Kimball, Minnesota. Looking to buy a new car? Well, tariffs are coming. Why now might be the right time to buy.
Plus, frosty reception.
You have not done a good job.
You just don't take over. I'm Holly Williams in Nuke, Greenland. What do Greenlanders think of President Trump's plan to take over? We came here to find out.
And later, success story. How this Hall of Fame gymnast is creating opportunity and empowering the next generation.
I want people to understand it's going to be making them better overall citizens of the world.
This is the CBS Weekend News from New York.
9 PCI View.
Today, a dramatic search for survivors after a devastating earthquake rocks Myanmar and Thailand. Day 2 on the campaign trail, and federal Labor pledges to outlaw price gouging while the opposition puts forward its energy plan. The SES searches for a man missing in floodwaters on the New South Wales mid-north coast. while Queensland communities battle major flooding across the state's west. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Meredith Sheehan. Rescuers
This is Asia Now.
It's 3 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 12:30 in New Delhi, and 2 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Keith Liu. At this hour, the U.S. calls Japan an indispensable partner in tackling China. Defense Chief Pete Hegseth holds talks with his Japanese counterpart in Nakatani with an eye on boosting bilateral security ties. Myanmar's earthquake death toll surpasses 1,600 as international aid begins to arrive. Rebel fighters have called for a partial ceasefire in the wake of the disaster. A frantic search for survivors in Thailand after the powerful tremor brought down a high-rise under construction, killing at least 10 people. The overall death toll in Bangkok touching 17.
Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak on France 24. Your top story. International aid rushes in, but there's great difficulty finding survivors and clearing rubble across Myanmar, struck by its biggest earthquake in a century. In Gaza, Hamas says it's ready to sign a ceasefire, while Netanyahu makes a counter-proposal, and a video of one of the hostages shakes Israelis waiting for their return. Syria names its transitional government a relatively diverse mix, aiming for unity and for the West to lift sanctions. One of the main rebel groups in Myanmar has announced a unilateral ceasefire after a devastating earthquake. The ruling junta said at least 1,600 people have died in the disaster, with the figure rising rapidly. Rescue efforts are focused on the main cities of Mandalay and Naypyidaw. Elsewhere, the civil war is making relief and communications difficult. Nick Rushworth explains.
Devastation here in Mandalay in Myanmar, with buildings flattened and bridges buckled. Rescue efforts are continuing as at this private high school called Wisdom Villa, where the mother of a woman trapped under rubble was overjoyed at having good news.
When they said they found dead bodies, I thought it was my daughter. I asked my relatives to come around for support. But now the rescuers say they saw my daughter and she is alive. I cannot describe how happy I am.
Hello, a very good morning. It's 8 o'clock. Coming up on the show today, Prince Harry is accused of harassment and bullying by the chair of the charity he helped set up.
And Nottingham Forest joined Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-finals, with the other two places in the last four up for grabs later on today.
It's Sunday, the 30th of March. The chair of the African charity founded by Prince Harry tells Sky News he bullied and harassed her and her staff.
Prince Harry authorized the release of a damaging piece of news to the outside world without informing me, all my country directors, or my executive director. And can you imagine what that attack has done for me, on me, and the 540 individuals in the Centre Valley organizations and their family? That is an example of harassment and bullying at scale.
Well, a source close to the charity's former trustees tells Sky News the claims about Harry are completely baseless.
And I'll be live at 8:30 on Sunday morning with Trevor Phillips. We'll bring you that extraordinary and exclusive interview with the chair of Centre Valley, Dr. Sophie Chandelkar.
Dramatic footage emerges from Myanmar as the number killed by Friday's earthquake rises to over 1,600.
And in the Women's Six Nations, it's 2 wins from 2 for England as Ellie Kildunn scored a hat-trick in a dominant 67-12 victory against Wales in Cardiff.
Clever work by England. The forwards were acting as... Hello, a very good morning. Thanks for joining us here on The Breakfast Show. Our top story today, the chair of the charity.
Tonight on PBS News Weekend, rescue workers in Myanmar and Thailand race against time to find survivors as the death toll from the devastating earthquake there soars. Then, we explore the new cuts at the nation's leading health agency and what they mean for millions of Americans who rely on their services. And we shine a light on women lighthouse keepers who kept shoreline beacons illuminated for generations.
These women are, remarkable for their strength, I think. Most of them didn't think what they were doing as remarkable or interesting or strange. They did their jobs, they did them well.
It's Mothering Sunday, and there's a dilemma for the Duke as Prince Harry finds himself labelled a bully.
The chief of the charity, which was set up by the Prince, claims that she is the victim now of the Sussex PR machine.
But did the bad blood actually start more than a year ago when the Duchess of Sussex was accused of ordering Dr. Sophie Chandauka out of the way?
The government is plotting a crackdown on illegal workers with tough new laws to stop employers hiring anyone who actually hasn't got the right to work.
The Labour MP is calling for the abolition of the Sentencing Council amid new guidelines ordering more lenient sentences for ethnic and faith minority groups.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but the clocks have gone forward overnight. It is 9 o'clock now, is it?
No, it's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. Oh, they've changed the clock. See, I'm confused. Anyway, there you are. The clocks have gone forward, so check your times. And happy Mother's Day, of course, Mothering Sunday to all mums. GB News is remembering you today.
Newcastle manager Eddie Howe was in tears yesterday as 300,000 fans descended on the city to celebrate the club's Carabao Cup triumph. In tennis, meanwhile, Novak Djokovic has a 100 ATP title in his sight ahead of the Miami Open final this afternoon.
Pressure is starting to build in across the UK. It should last much of next week as well. Find out all the weather details coming up soon.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. She's Anne Diamond.
Thank you very much. And he's right. Happy Mothering Sunday. This is GB News Breakfast.
Africa News. The news.
In a controversial decision, Guinea's ruling junta leader, General Mamadi Doumbouya, has granted a presidential pardon to former military ruler Moussa Dadi Camara. Camara, convicted of crimes against humanity for his role in the 2009 massacre in Conakry, was pardoned on the grounds of health reasons. The announcement was made in a decree broadcast on national television on Friday. The decree, read by the presidency spokesperson, General Amara Camara, stated that the pardon was granted following the proposal of the Minister of Justice. As the electoral campaign for the presidential election in Gabon begins on Saturday, several civil society organizations, political parties and other groups continue to join the Rally of Builders, a political movement created by the president of the Transition Party. For the Gabonese, it's the party of Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema, even though for the presidential election it's simply a movement to support his candidacy.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.